Next, I want to cover a question that we've been getting a lot recently, and that is, do we have to reimburse expenses for our remote employees? And the answer is going to come in, I guess, two phases. We have federal law that we have to look at, and we have state law. On the federal side, you've got 29 CFR 531.35, and that tells us that we're only required to reimburse folks for their work-related expenses when those expenses actually drop their earnings below minimum wage. Now, because of COVID-19, obviously we have employees at all levels working remotely, and employers will need to keep a close eye on those folks who are earning kind of close to the minimum wage range to ensure that the costs of working from home are not cutting into their pay. So that's the basic law from the federal government. And as we hopefully already know, the federal law is the base law. You can't go under it, but as a state, you can increase the standard a little bit. So several states already require folks to reimburse their employees for those expenses. And what you want to do is refer to the state law in the location where the employee is working. That's very important to determine the specific obligations that you are going to have for expense reimbursement. Now, here's a very important reminder that a written policy outlining the expense reimbursements for telecommuting is highly recommended. You have to tell people what the rules are before you put them to work. And employers with employees working from multiple states may choose to tailor, you could have a different policy or a different handbook for each state, or you could incorporate the most generous requirements into a single policy and single employee handbook. So that would be applicable to everybody. So it can get a little bit deep in legalese. Common expenses for remote workers that may be covered by your state law requirements can include things that we probably already know about: cell phone charges, internet or data plan charges, the purchase of office supplies or other services and equipment necessary for them to do their job. And you really have to pay attention to what the law says. In California, if an employee uses their cell phone for work, even if there's no increased expense to that employee, their company or their employer still has to reimburse them for their monthly charges. So that covers the question kind of in a nutshell. And if you have any other questions, you can go ahead and shoot them back via